If you've just joined us, we're going to be doing a combination of yin and restorative, but it's gentle yin. So if you've ever done my other yin practices, you know they can be very intense. That is not our goal tonight. Our goal this evening is to be really like loving and nurturing to ourselves, to definitely practice and feel gratitude. Excuse me. And to allow that to be the seed for joy. So there can be no joy without gratitude. Gratitude is the precursor to joy. So for us to feel joyful, we have to have gratitude. And it's a perfect time of year. So Thanksgiving, or as I like to think of it, is Giving Thanks Day, is Thursday. So we're going to use this opportunity to truly nurture our bodies, to foster gratitude, and thereby find joy. So as we're kind of like doing these next couple of minutes, waiting for the last couple of people to sign on, if you have traditional yoga props like bolsters, blankets, blocks, grab those. If you do not, it's okay. Couch cushions, bed pillows, throw pillows, blankets or towels, all sorts of stuff that you find around the house, you can use. We will be in poses anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. And if you've not done yin or restorative before, don't panic. It's like me telling you you're going to take a nap for 5 or 10 minutes. These are gentle poses, so they'll go by pretty quickly. But that means that you've got time to adjust and adapt. And what my intention for you this evening is for you to find the version of each pose that feels appropriate for you. For many of these poses, there are multiple ways to do them, and I'm going to show them all to you, and you get to choose what really feels best for you. So that's kind of where we're going to be rolling this evening. If you need socks, a heater, water, any of that stuff, do it, get it. It's all good to have it nearby, cup of tea, whatever is good for you. Also know that obviously you're in your own home. So if you need to get up and go to the restroom, this is a long practice, that's okay too. Let this be an absolutely zero stress, sweet, yummy practice. So without further ado, here's what we're going to do first. We're going to sit for a moment, just truly in silence for a moment and kind of tune in. Now, if you've got tight hips or sitting on the ground isn't good for you, feel free to sit in a chair. I'm actually going to grab a meditation cushion real quick and just kind of elevate my hips. That makes me a little more comfortable. So do whatever you need to do, but we're going to kind of get ourselves tuned in and then begin to work on our gratitude and then begin to move into some poses. So just kind of find a comfortable seated position, and that might look different for all of us. Doesn't matter how it looks. I'd like you to have a relatively straight spine, very relaxed shoulders. Open your mouth really big, and then relax your jaw. If you're comfortable with your eyes closed, close your eyes. Take a huge inhale through your nose and a big releasing breath out through the mouth. Releasing all of your tension from your body. Again, breathe in through the nose. Breathe out through the mouth, letting go of everything that happened during your day today, just bringing you into the moment. And then one more time, breathe in through your nose. Let it all out through the mouth as you use the end of that exhale to turn inward. I want you to just really notice what you're feeling in your body. Maybe your workday just ended, or maybe you've had a relaxing day already. Regardless of what came before this moment, something has had an effect on you. So all you have to do is notice, how does your body feel? Is there anywhere that's maybe tight? Or maybe you just feel like you're still kind of energized from the day, or maybe you're really exhausted from the day. Just sort of notice, is there anywhere that feels really good or relaxed already? Notice that too. Notice any thoughts that might be swirling around in your head. Notice any emotions you might be feeling. And then notice how the longer you sit and observe, how things change. Notice if you begin to feel a little calmer. Notice if the body becomes more still. Notice if there's more space between your thoughts. Notice if there's a pervading sense of peace in your heart. And we're going to just slowly begin to bring in some gratitude. Those of you that know me well know that that's really my ongoing day-to-day, hour by hour, minute by minute practice. There is always so much to be grateful for. For right now, let's start by having gratitude for the measure of health that we've been given. Let's feel gratitude for our family and friends that we've been given. Gratitude for our communities. Gratitude for this beautiful planet. Gratitude for the breath that we're breathing right now. And gratitude for our lives. Allow that feeling of gratitude to really, really just permeate your entire being. I want you to feel steeped in gratitude, awash in gratitude. And then before we begin our physical practice, let's let a little bit of that gratitude spill over and wish for all beings to be able to see the beauty around them and have appreciation. For all beings to feel gratitude for all of the blessings and lessons. For all beings to have peace. And now take a moment and set your own personal intention for this evening's practice. Whatever it is that you personally really need more than anything, and promise me you deserve it, let that inform your practice this evening. Be really clear about your intention. And then bring your palms together in front of your heart. Take one more nice deep breath in through your nose. And just exhale with a really soft and gentle sigh. You can open your eyes. We're going to begin our first part of the practice with yin, which can also become restorative. And we're going to end with truly restorative, which is passive. Yin can be passive or slightly active. And so, as I promised, I'm going to give you multiple ways to do each of these poses. And I want you to choose for yourself which of them will be most appropriate. So as we get into this practice, you're deciding what is most appropriate for you. The first pose that we're going to do is called butterfly in the yin tradition, sometimes called cobbler's pose in hatha yoga, but there's 3 ways I'm going to show you to do it, and you get to choose which one's best for you. And you also get to say, maybe it's not good for me no matter what. You're allowed to move in and out of these poses. Just know that none of what you do this evening is about suffering. Suffering does not occur this evening, all right? Promise me, pinky promise. Okay, so here we go, you guys, the beginning of our practice. We're settled in, we're centered, we're feeling grateful. We've sent our intentions out to the universe, and we're going to begin with butterfly. Okay. So the first version of this, which is the more active stretching version, for those of you that are more flexible or limber or need more of this, your pose would look like soles of the feet together, and they can be close in or far apart, and perhaps leaning forward. Now, as I said, we're going to be doing our poses for about 5 minutes. Okay, so that's one version. What if your hips are tight or this is not a good thing for you? You could sit on a bolster or a block. You could elevate the hips. Let the knees be slightly bent with the feet kind of splayed out, and maybe lean back on the hands and just get a little bit of hip flexor opening. So that's an option. Now, my third option is, in fact, a restorative version of it. You would actually recline, and you would use blocks or blankets or bolsters to support the thighs as you recline. And you could put something behind your head. So if you need a very restorative position, you're going to support your legs. If you have hip issues, you're going to support your legs and perhaps separate the feet. And Nancy, for you, that's actually what I would recommend, is a slight separation of the feet with less of a bend at the knee and supporting the thighs. Letha, it's been a while since I've seen you. I'm glad you joined us. If your hips are sensitive to this, you might consider supporting the thighs, and the rest of you would just kind of decide what's good for you. And also remember that you can move into and out of this. If you start in one and you decide you don't like it and you want to do something else, you can change. So butterfly position, either feet together leaning forward, hips elevated, feet separate, maybe slightly leaning back, or you can recline all the way and support your thighs. Your breath for this practice is just a natural breath. You don't have to do deep yoga breathing unless you want to. And so you get to decide what's most comfortable for you. And so as you're in the version of butterfly that you've chosen, come back to our initial calling in of gratitude. Gratitude for the measure of health that you've been given. Even when we have things going wrong, we're usually so much better off than so many people, and we should be grateful for the health that we have. So if you are feeling sensation, gratitude for that sensation. If it's unpleasant, please change so that you can have gratitude for a more pleasant sensation. In the opening meditation, we expressed gratitude for our community. And we each have our outside communities, right? But how cool is it that regardless of where we're located, we have this online community. We have each other, even here in the Zoom room. We've got each other. We're all doing this together. We have about another minute in the pose. So for this last minute that you are in your yin butterfly, I'd like you to think of one thing specific to today that you're grateful for, that you've never been grateful for before, something unique just to today. Very slowly begin to come out of whichever version of butterfly you are in. Now, if you were on your back, my suggestion is that you just hug your knees into your chest and rock side to side for a moment. If you were seated like me, just an easy cross-legged position, do a gentle seated twist to your right. Hold it for 4 slow breaths and then to the left. Those of you on your backs doing the reclined version, you can just, if you want to drop your knees side to side and do a gentle twist to decompress, you can, but you're also welcome to just hug the knees and rock. And then if you were on your back, you can just roll to one side and press yourself up to sitting. And if you were seated, you're going to stay seated. So the next thing that we're going to do for the yin part of the practice is a side bend. And I'm going to suggest that it is supported. For those of you, Nancy, I'm thinking of you, but there may be others who shouldn't bend deeply sideways. I'm going to show you a cool variation. But let's all just kind of look at the options that you have, and then we'll go through them again together. I'll speed through them quickly just so you can kind of go, I think that one's for me. So the first one would just be a full-on unsupported side bend with a hand out and an arm up and over. Now this can be pretty intense if you do this for a few minutes, right? And that's what we're going to be doing. So the next version is to grab either a bolster or a blanket or even a bed pillow, extend one leg out, put the bolster or bed pillow on it, rest your body on it, and take the arm up and over. Now, mind you, for me, with one tweaky shoulder, this part, the arm up and over, doesn't always feel good. Even with the arm by the side, which relaxes the shoulder, you're still getting a side bend. So know, please, that you do not have to have your arm up and over the whole time. Now, this might still be too deep of a side bend. So there's another version you can do. Yay, hooray. You can grab a block or 2 or 3 bolsters. You can put it beside your leg, closer to the thigh, and simply lean on it. So this is just a very small side bend now, and just kind of roll the shoulder open. If necessary, you could even have this at the highest level so that there's very little curvature in the spine. Having said that, if you have a different version of a side bend that you need to do, you may do that. But these are kind of the options. We're going to be maybe 3 or 4 minutes on each side. So either going full on unsupported if you're hardcore, and some of you may need to move stuff out of your body. That's cool. If you want to go supported, I suggest you start with your right leg extended first. And you can either have your arm on a block or on a bolster. Arm can be up and over or down. The other option, again, Nancy, I'm thinking of you. If you want to try this, would be to extend your opposite leg and make it a small side bend without the hip opening. So those are your options, you guys. The other thing you can do too is with this leg that's bent, you can always support it with a bolster or a block. The whole key here is that you feel comfortable and supported. You will still feel sensation of the side bend, but the idea is that you should be able to relax and breathe into it and get deeper and not to suffer. Remember, you pinky promised, no suffering. So whatever version you choose, we're going to be side bending to the right first. And we'll be here, like I said, for 3 or 4 minutes. You can do this with the arm overhead or not, your choice. As you kind of settle yourself into the version of side bend that works for you, I want you to notice your breath. During our opening meditation, we had gratitude for the breath that we're breathing. Even if you're doing a gentle, supported side bend, you're going to feel the air expanding your left side and left rib cage as you inhale and contracting as you exhale. So you can have gratitude for the breath. You can have gratitude for that sensation of expansion and contraction. Experiment with how the body feels. Be kind to yourself. If you are experimenting with your positions, remember to be compassionate. Allow your body to relax deeper into the pose if that's the direction you're choosing to go, rather than pushing deeper into the pose. This first part of your practice, the more yin part. If you've not done yin yoga, what seems incredibly easy at first, as you are probably feeling, can be a little exciting. The benefit of this practice is that it works more on your connective tissue rather than just the muscles. So you actually have really lasting change. Something else to be grateful for, this beautiful yin practice that helps us release fascia and ligament and tendon connective tissue. Nice and slow. Come on up out of whatever variation you're in. You might give a little wiggle if you need to. And then we're simply going to move to the other side. Now, please remember, particularly if you have curvature of your spine, like scoliosis, one side might feel different than the other. So please adapt as necessary. If you've got anything going on in your body, Mom, I know you're on, I'm thinking about your knee. You might want to do like I'm having to do with mine and use a block to support it. So just, you guys, whatever you have to do to make your body happy, that's what I want you to do. And then we'll go ahead and transition into side bending to the left. Remember, the arm can be up and overhead or not, or in and out, right? And you kind of settle into whatever's going to be the best version of this stretch for you on this side. You get to completely forget what happened on the other side. We've moved on. We're in the present. So what do you feel in your body now? Even if you did it one way, on the other side, you might want to do it differently here. Yet again, something to be grateful for, right? Choice, free will. Definitely something to have gratitude for. I don't remember where I heard it, but one of my favorite ideas is that if we have free will, we also have free won't. So please know if you need to say no, that's okay. This is about nourishing your body, finding gratitude in everything, even the difficulties. There is always a jewel hidden in the most difficult of things. And for that, we can be grateful. Remember to feel the breath. This time, stretching out right rib cage, right side of the body. And that can bring you back to that gratitude for the breath. So there's about a minute left here. I'm going to challenge you to do what we did in our butterfly pose. I asked you to find one thing specific to today that you're grateful for, that you've never been grateful for before. I'd like you to find a second thing. It can be the tiniest of things, by the way. So just to kind of give you an example, not that you need one, but should you need one. We recently moved and I put out some new bird feeders, and I have attracted tons of tufted titmice, and they are precious, and I'm thrilled to have them eating my seeds. So that's something I'm very grateful for that's specific to today. And slowly coming out of your pose. From here, we're going to do some cat-cows to decompress, which is just to come onto your hands and knees and arch and round your back. Now, if arching and rounding are a bad idea, tail wags are a great alternative. So those of you that need to protect your back, instead of arching and rounding, you can wag your tail like a dog. And even if you don't need to protect your back, if you want to wag your tail like a dog, please do. So our next pose in Hatha Yoga, it's called heart opening pose. In Yin Yoga, I love it. They call it melting heart pose, which is really appropriate because it's like your heart is melting towards the ground. This can be a rather intense pose. So yet again, I'm going to offer you some alternatives. The full pose, should you choose to do it, is from all fours, keeping hips directly over knees, not allowing the hips to go forward or back, extending the arms, allowing the forehead and or the chest to hit the ground, hence the name melting heart. Now, if arching the back is a bad idea for you, or if you have shoulder issues, doing the half version of this is absolutely acceptable, and I'll give you that midpoint so you'll know when to switch sides. To do the half version, you would bring one forearm across the mat, extend the other arm out while the tailbone does in fact pull back. Let your forehead rest on your forearm and allow that armpit to sink. You can also do these supported. For those of you that have shoulder issues or even neck or back issues, please feel free to use a block. Or my favorite for this one actually is a rolled up blanket because it's very soft. And you can put your forehead on it and allow the arms to extend and the chest to sink. And that takes a lot of the intensity out of it. So you can choose. Nancy, I know you know how to take care of yourself on the half one of this by slightly taking curve out of the low back. Those of you that may have one bad shoulder, I kind of do. My modification on this, and I'm just sharing this in case it's helpful to you, when I do the half version or even the whole version, instead of my arms fully forward, the one shoulder that's a little tweaky, I slightly bring it out, like at a little bit of an angle, and that alleviates pressure. Yet again, you experiment and you make the pose work for you, not the other way around. I don't want you to work your way into the pose. I want you to work the pose so that it's there for you. So either full melting heart, half melting heart, or supported full or half. If you are doing the full version, you should know we're going to do this for 6 minutes. So you might have to come out of it and go back into it. Those of you that are doing the half version, it will be 3 minutes on either side. I'll be doing the half version because that works better for my shoulder. You do whatever's best for you, including the supported version. So here we go. Time begins now.
And so as you're finding your way into melting heart pose or half melting heart, take a moment in gratitude for the beautiful heart that is beating in your chest. Think of how many times it has already beat for you in this lifetime. It's amazing how it pumps blood for you throughout your entire body. What a miracle. How it's also the seat of your emotions and allows you to see and feel beauty, to feel gratitude. Maybe even take this opportunity to tell your heart thank you. You may notice that your chest or armpit is a lot closer to the floor than when you started. If that's the case, that means things are loosening and opening through the front side of your body, which is really helpful. Almost time to change, you guys. Not quite, but almost there.
If you are in full heart opener, you're staying. If you're in half heart opener, we're just going to switch sides. Remembering to honor the difference from one side to the other.
Notice any emotions that might be coming up as you do this heart opening. Sometimes it can dislodge grief or mourning, and that's okay. There's room for those emotions here with all of our gratitude and joy. We don't resist them, we welcome them alongside the gratitude and the joy that we're feeling. So as we're into our last minute, I'll give you a little bit more space for finding something unique to be grateful for. Something you've never been grateful for before, but something from just this past week. So in the last week, what can you say that you were grateful for that you've never been grateful for before? And then you can slowly come out of this. And to decompress from this, we're actually going to be going into a supported child's pose. Now, some of you guys can do child's pose beautifully, and you're welcome to just do the full-on child's pose, which is a rounded back position with your forehead down and your hands back by your feet. However, we're going to be here for a little bit. So if you would like, the supported version is really pretty yummy. You can grab a bolster, some blankets, a couple of bolsters. Bed pillows work good for this. You still want your bum towards your heels, but you separate your knees and you allow your body to rest on your bolster or pillow, and you just kind of hug it. So if you're good with that, you might want to try that as a supported child's pose. Now, don't mind me, I'm going to be extending the leg. I'm doing a one-legged child's pose. It's very unusual, but that's just my version of taking care of myself because I have a tweaked knee. Please do whatever's best for you. If your knees don't flex deeply, Mom, I'm thinking of you, or Linda, even with your knees, you might consider a couple of bolsters and let your bum be up a little bit. You'll notice I've kind of hiked my hips up onto the bolsters. You can try that too, if that's better for you. And don't mind me, I'm still doing the one leg version, and you're welcome to do that too. But we're going to be in a supported child's pose or full child's pose for a couple of minutes. The thing is that you should feel a lot of relaxation and unwinding in your back, because the melting heart pose, whether you did half or full, is an upper back bend. And so you want your upper back to kind of round and drape over a bolster, a pillow, or even just in traditional child's pose. Feel your body relaxing. Feel your shoulders softening. If you do have your torso over a bolster or a pillow, please know you're welcome to turn your head to either side or have it forward. The idea here is really, truly to just be super relaxed, kind of the way you see little babies when they curl up on their stomachs, right?
And you can begin to just slowly press yourself up from your child's pose. If you like, you can do your little wiggle, that tail wag, that always feels good. And then we're gonna have a seat again. So only a couple more poses that are actually semi-effortful, that are yin based. This one is a seated wide angle forward bend. So you may of course do this with zero props, unsupported, with the legs wide, lengthening the chest forward. Now, for some of us, that feels okay. For some of us with tight hips, this can be excruciating. So you have a couple of options. If you have rather tight hips, you might consider elevating your hips on a cushion or a bolster. That makes it, you can tell my pelvis just tilted. This is so much more comfortable. And I might just sit upright here and maybe lean forward a little or just sit. You could even lean back on the hands and it's a much gentler stretch, right? The other option, if you have one hip that doesn't like this, you're gonna have one leg forward, one leg out to the side, but you're leaning forward. So you get the inner thigh stretch and you could switch at the halfway point. You're also welcome, of course, to bring your legs together, come out of it and go back in. Now, the third variation that I personally like is a supported wide angle forward bend, which is to bring a bolster and or blocks. I like to put a block under my bolster and lean forward under my bolster and relax. You might need to make a big stack. Again, you might want to lean back on your hands. Do what's best for you. If you need to bring one leg in, make sure that you do that. If you try this, again, Nancy, thinking of you, if you try this and it's just not working for you at all, although I think with the hips elevated, keeping your torso straight, you'll be fine. If it's not okay, lay on your back, hug your knees in. We're not going to be here that long. All right, so you choose. You either just tough it out with no props, you support yourself with as much stuff as you need, or you support your hips and kind of lean back. So those are sort of your options. Or you can always exercise your choice of, saying no. Remember, we said we have free will and we also have free won't. So if this is a no for you, then no. And we are here for about 6 minutes. So if you're doing it one-sided, I'll give you a halfway midpoint. So as I said earlier, your yin poses are designed to work on connective tissue. This particular pose can be pretty impressive. The effects when you're done, if you do a yin practice, you'll get a lot farther if you're obviously hanging out here for 6 minutes. But what's cool is it stays with you unless you quit practicing this pose. Like you'll notice in a couple of days, if you do this pose, you'll get deeper into it than you ever have. It's really quite nice. So you have more lasting change.
come back to your gratitude. Come back to that sensation in your heart that the community around you is there for you. Come back to that knowledge that your family and friends that have been given to you are truly a gift. Anyone that we have in our lives that's on our side is truly a gift. We should certainly be grateful for that. If you are doing a one-sided practice with this pose, now is your time to switch to the other side. For those of you doing it straight down the middle, that means it's your halfway point. So if you're like me and you had your head turned in one direction, you might want to turn it the opposite way. And on this side, if it is a different side, or on this second half of holding the pose, I'd like for you to think of a second thing unique specifically to this past week that you can be grateful for. Something you've never ever been grateful for before that's just occurred in this last week. You have about a minute left. And you can begin to slowly come up out of this. I suggest that you actually use your hands to help your legs together. Give them a nice little side to side wiggle. It's really nice to kind of let them come together for a moment and decompress. All right, so we're moving into our final yin posture. And boy, oh boy, are there lots of variations. And this is a good thing because we all have different things going on in our bodies. Now, if you have a proper yoga bolster and you have healthy knees, even if they're a little tweaky, you may be okay with this. It's a supported pigeon. Now, for some of us, even with knee issues, when you do it with a bolster, it's a whole different ball game. Safe if you've had hip replacements, by the way. It's actually totally different from a regular pigeon, so it may work for you. If you don't have a proper yoga bolster, a pillow is not going to give you the same kind of support. There's a different way that we can support one of the glutes with a block. Now, having said that, for those of you that no matter what we do, that's not going to work for you,
You can do a figure 4 stretch, or Nancy, your normal glute stretch, but there's also a really restorative way to do it using a wall. So I'm going to show you a ton of options, and you're going to just kind of experiment. So if you aren't really sure, you're welcome to kind of go along with me as I show them to you, and then you can play and decide where you want to stay. Now, if you have a firm bolster, or like a couch cushion works great, by the way. And I do have a knee issue, but I can actually do a supported pigeon on a bolster. Here's what that would look like. I'm going to angle myself slightly, hoping that I can give you a good view. I kneel on all fours over the bolster. If I'm going to put my right leg, and I'll show you guys with my injured one, since that makes it like proof that you can do it. You flex the ankle. You let your thigh rest on the bolster, and the other leg goes back, and you either support yourself on your hands, or my favorite is grab a block, put your head on the block, or for some of you, you'll just go flat. Now, if this works for you, great. This is a good way to stay. And I'll warn you, we're going to do 5 minutes on each side. Now, what if you don't have a firm bolster, but you kind of want to do pigeon, but you don't want to just be in pigeon for 5 minutes? The other option is to use a block, a yoga block, and put it under that glute. So your glute is actually sitting on something, right? And then you lean forward. Also very doable. If that is still not an option for you, figure 4 stretch on your back is with an ankle crossed over a knee, and you're pulling these in. You'll feel it in the glute. But as promised, if you don't want to spend 5 minutes pulling on your leg, and by the way, you can do it just holding the foot with the foot on the ground. Here's my next option for you. It's borderline restorative. I'm going to move my bolsters for a moment. If you have a wall, you can do a figure 4 and let the wall hold your leg for you. Here's what that would look like, because I know a couple of you are going to want to do this. Linda, this one's probably for you. Mom, this one's probably for you. So you get your bum pretty close to a wall, and you put your legs straight up the wall, like legs up the wall. Don't hang out here, because we're actually going to do it later. But here's what you would do. Cross your ankle over your knee like you would for figure 4. And then you just start to bend the opposite knee, and it's resting on the wall. The farther down the knee moves, the more the opposite leg pushes into the chest. You don't have to pull or push. You just find your stretch and hang out. So those are a lot of options for a glute stretch. As I said, we're going to do 5 minutes on each side. So either using a bolster to support the thigh, a block to support the glute, figure 4 stretch if that's better for you, or figure 4 stretch against the wall. Or Nancy, just doing your regular glute stretch like we do. And if you need to come in and out of it, okay. Because as I said, we're going to be here for 5 minutes on each side. The nice thing is this is your last true yin pose. After this, we kind of move into full on restorative. So if you are using a bolster under your leg for pigeon, you might be on your hands, you might be on your forearms, you might use a block to rest your forehead on, you might go ahead and flatten out and just hang. Whatever you do, be mindful of your body, know that things are loosening and opening, have gratitude for that, and remember our pinky promise, no suffering. So if anything is highly unpleasant, I expect you to come out of it and find a way to make it more pleasant.
Your breath will get you through this pose. That doesn't mean that you have to do deep yoga breathing. You might want to. You certainly can do whatever feels good to you. But simply focusing on your breath and letting your body do what it does, letting your body take care of itself. Your breath will get you through. Your breath will keep you present. If you're feeling your body start to settle and actually relax and soften into the pose, congratulations, something else to be grateful for. There's truly an element of surrender when you're doing a yin practice. And there's nothing more freeing than truly surrendering. Yet another thing to be grateful for. Not too much longer on this side, you guys. And so whether you're doing a figure 4 stretch on the wall, or you have a glute on the bolster or a block, maybe have gratitude for support, for assistance, for help. How nice is it to have something that will aid us and assist us in opening up our bodies? If you are on your back doing figure 4 or a glute stretch or figure 4 against the wall, just uncross your legs and hug your knees in. If you're doing a supported pigeon over a bolster or a block, come back onto your hands and knees. You're probably going to want to do a tail wag and maybe extend a leg. Woo, that's exciting. And then you guessed it, we're doing the other side. And if you choose to do something different on this side, you know what? That's okay. It's perfect. The whole idea
is you're doing what's best for your body. So if you're using a bolster to support yourself in pigeon, your thigh is being supported by the bolster. If you're using a block, your left glute or other glute is on the block. Or you've switched legs in your figure 4 stretch. And maybe you've got your legs up the wall, maybe you don't. But settle in. We're going to do the same 5 minutes on this side. So come back to focusing on your breath. Having gratitude for your breath. So many of you have heard me say this before, but I really love it. My teacher said years and years ago in training that we really should be very grateful for every single breath because we never really know how many we have. Someday our breath will stop and we don't know when that is. And so every single inhale and exhale is incredibly precious and we should appreciate that. So as you are in this last minute of pigeon or figure 4 or glute stretch on the second side, I'll give you an even broader time frame. Think of something from this last month that you've never been grateful for before, specific to this last month. And then you may slowly come out. If you are on your back doing a figure 4, you can hang out there, hug your knees in and side to side rock. If you were doing a pigeon on a bolster or a block, again, you may want to wag your tail or extend a leg. we're just gonna do some windshield wipers to decompress. And let's just all do these on our back. We're gonna kind of be starting to transition now into truly restorative poses. So I want you to go ahead, and if you're on your back, put your feet flat and take them wide, far apart from each other with your knees bent. If you've got hip issues, you're gonna make this a tiny movement. Those of you that are happier hipped people, you can make it a bigger movement. We're just gonna drop knees to one side and then the other. Just kind of a nice slow roll. You're gonna feel the front top part of your thigh and a little bit of the outer hip stretch. So you're just kind of decompressing from your pigeons and figure fours. A couple more times here. And then just let your knees prop together for a moment. Now our next pose is a truly restorative pose. It's called supported fish. And it's basically a really gentle upper back bend. I'm going to give you a couple of options for doing this. Some of you have done this with me in class. Some of you do it with me in private sessions. You may use a block. I'm going to show you with a block first, and then I'll show you with a blanket or a towel that'll give you like a gentler version. Everybody's different, and because this is a restorative pose, we're going to be holding it for a while. So you may opt out of the block and use a blanket. We'll see. But the idea is this: the block is underneath, or blanket is underneath kind of the shoulder blade area, upper back area, not the low back. This is critical. I'm going to show you a couple of ways to do this, and then you can decide. So if you're doing just the block, you want the bottom edge of the block at the bottom edge of your shoulder blades usually, and you simply recline back over it. And tonight, because you'll be here for a while, you're welcome to extend the legs. Now, if you want to do this, but you have neck issues, you would use a second block underneath your head. However, maybe you don't have blocks, or maybe you don't want to lie on a block for 5 minutes. I don't blame you. You can take a blanket or a towel. I'm going to open my blanket out to about this. If you've got a towel, you'd maybe fold it in half and just roll it up into a nice little noodle. Put that across your mat. You would want it so that your arms and shoulder blades are above the blanket. So you'll notice when I lie back, the back of my head and the backs of my arms are on the floor, and the blanket's just making my rib cage elevate. And again, you can do your legs straight. You can put your legs over a bolster. You can have your knees bent. This is definitely a gentler version, and you could still use another blanket for head support. So I want you to do what feels good for you. You can either do a block or blocks or blankets or towels. And again, if you really want to make it extra yummy, just put a bolster underneath your knees and just chill out. We're here for quite a while, so make sure that you're comfortable. The idea is that your upper chest opens and everything else relaxes. So you choose the version that's good for you. And just remember that these heart opening poses can sometimes release emotions, and it's always a good thing. And sometimes the emotions that it releases are joy. Again, when we have gratitude, we have joy. You cannot have joy without gratitude. So you choose your supported fish. Make sure that your back and your neck are comfortable. And then come back to awareness of your breath. If at any point you feel like you need to come out of this, please do. Don't feel like you have to stay for the full time. If you do stay for the full time, what this pose is doing for you is undoing all of your day-to-day activities. We do everything in a forward bending plane. We eat hunched over or moving forward. We drive that way. We computer that way. We text that way. We speak and gesture with our arms in front of us. We do everything in a forward bending plane. And this is undoing that. So this is like the best antidote to the modern human condition. As you're lying here with your heart open, bring to mind someone exceptionally dear to you. Someone that you love with all your heart. And that doesn't necessarily mean romantic love. It can be a family member or a mentor or even just a dear friend, but someone that you really wholeheartedly love. Have gratitude for the fact that you have had this person in your life. Gratitude for the connection that you've been able to make with this person. Gratitude that you have the capacity for this much love. so knowing how good you feel as you think of this person that you love so much, I would like for you to think of a person today that you could be grateful for. It can be a spouse or a coworker, or I actually had an exceptional customer service person that I dealt with today. I'm certainly grateful for that. Anyone, maybe it was someone that smiled at you or waved at you when you were driving, or someone who helped you check out, or anyone that was pleasant or kind. I want you to bring them to mind. Someone from today, and maybe it was just a text or an email. Maybe it was one of your children checking on you. I mean, who knows? Whatever it is, think of someone, anyone, even if you don't know them, that maybe had a positive effect on you today, and have some gratitude for that. You only have a couple of minutes left here. I'd like to challenge you for this last little bit, slightly differently. You know how you felt when I asked you to bring to mind someone really dear that you love wholeheartedly? Remember how that actually felt in your body and felt in your heart? That same love, that same gratitude, I want you to shine that same emotion on yourself. Can you feel that same overwhelming love and gratitude for you? Can you feel that for yourself? Give that to yourself now. If you have managed to stay on your block or blanket to this point, bend your knees if they are not already. And very gently roll to one side. Try not to just sit up from this. It's a really bad idea. Roll to one side. Move your block or blanket, roll out from behind you. Roll back onto your back. Give your knees a little hug and gently rock side to side. Our next pose is a restorative pose that we'll all be doing that will help decompress the back. So once you've rocked a couple of times, you're probably going to need to rock to one side and press yourself up to sitting. So to decompress a little bit, we're going to go into a very neutral spine position. And you're just going to get to use all your toys or whatever you have at your disposal. In the old days in the studio, I would call this Stonehenge, and I'll show you how to build that. You can also build it as a tower. Nancy and I call it like the Prana Tower. Yay, everybody loves it. Here's the cool thing. What if you don't have bolsters and blocks to do all this stuff? If you have a chair or a couch or an ottoman or anything near you, you can spin around. I don't actually have a chair in here to show you, but if you just imagine that I had a couch right here, right? I could spin around, lie on my back, and have my legs at 90 degrees. Like your legs, your lower legs are resting on the cushions. You're literally just gonna lie like this. So if you do have some yoga props, I'll show you a couple of ways to do this. If you have blocks, you can take 2 blocks and put them on mid-level and put a bolster on top. If you could see this from this side, I'm going to spin it around. Do you see why I call it Stonehenge? So you can do that. It won't quite be 90 degrees, but it'll be close, and you can let your legs rest over that. The other option is, if you are blessed to have 2 bolsters and 2 blocks, you can even do this lengthwise with your blocks in between, and it's going to feel a lot like putting your legs up and over a couch. So you see I've kind of built a tower here, and then I can let my lower legs rest on that. But please feel free to use a piece of furniture. What you really want here is for your back to be super flat, all right? It should be pretty yummy for just about everyone. If you feel like you need support under your neck, please give yourself that. We're here for 10 minutes, which I don't think will make you unhappy. But if at any point you need to come out of this, feel free to do that. So legs are up and over something that causes your low back to be flat and that allows you to completely relax. Your arms can be wherever you want them. You can rest your hands on your abdomen. You can have them by your sides. It is okay to have them up and overhead, but I wouldn't leave them there for the full 10 minutes. It makes your heart work a tiny bit harder. So just get comfortable and just kind of feel your back slowly unwinding from that really long supported fish. But it was a beautiful heart opener. Hopefully you were able to feel a lot of love and gratitude as you were thinking of people in your life. So now I'm actually going to have you stay with the whole people idea, but I want you to think of someone that you have not met. That sounds odd, but I want you to think of someone who you have not met that you're grateful for. Maybe it's an author whose books you enjoy. Maybe it's some historical figure who you greatly admire. I have tons of teachers, technically, that I've not ever met in person that I am exceptionally grateful for their lessons. The world is full of teachers. Actually, if you look at it that way, everyone is our teacher. Everybody that we come into contact with is a teacher in some way. But I'd like you to think of someone that you've not met, that you're really grateful for. Someone who created beautiful art, perhaps.
Feel how your body is slowly responding and just flattening out and surrendering to the floor beneath you. Your back should be feeling pretty happy about now. Completely decompressed from the back bend, completely neutral. Your legs should be really happy. They should be very relaxed. And your heart should be happy because there's this person that you've never even met that has in some way gifted you with something. And then again, I'd like you to flip this. That gratitude that you feel for the person that you've not met, for whatever it is that they've gifted you with, whatever it is, I want you to turn that same gratitude towards yourself, recognizing that some of the things that you may take for granted, the rest of the world sees as a gift. Somewhere right now, someone is grateful for you. I'd like for you to be grateful for you. Be grateful for your gifts. Recognize the things that you share, either with people around you or with the world. Probably with people you know, maybe with people you don't know. Whether it's music or art or being pleasant and friendly and smiling with everybody that you meet, or a multitude of things. We all have gifts. Most of us don't recognize them. Most of us are not grateful for them, and we should be. So just for these next few minutes, thank yourself for the gifts that you share. Most of you have not met my lovely assistant, Mayu, my yoga cat, but you've seen him. I hope you have gratitude for him and not frustration. He's actually very sweet. We have about 1 more minute here. Continue to bask in your own appreciation of you. And you can just slowly start to bring your knees into your chest. This will round the back a little bit. Gently rock side to side. Now, from here, we're going to be going into a really, really gentle restorative twist, but there's more than one way to do this. Those of you who like twisting, whose bodies like to twist, I'm going to show you something that you can do from your back so you don't actually have to get up. I'm just going to kind of move some of my props out of the way. You can use a bolster, or you can use a block between the knees, or you could use a blanket. But you basically put a bolster. You can either have your legs straight. I'm going to show you two versions. Legs straight with the bolster between the legs, dropping the legs over, letting the arm open out. You could do that with your knees bent and make it a little gentler, right? So we're going to do 5 minutes on each side. So you could do that. If your body doesn't like to twist as much, the more traditional restorative twist is to have your bolster lengthwise on the ground, to have a blanket between the knees to keep them equidistance, to put your side hip by the bolster, and to twist face down over the bolster. Now, I can do the full twist here because my body doesn't mind twists. If you cannot, you can do it as a much gentler, like side-lying twist. The other alternative, if your body doesn't like twisting at all, like if a twist is not in your future, and if you've got a side joint issues or whatever that may be the case, then you are welcome to literally go face down over the bolsters, in which case you are going to probably need a firm bolster or a couch cushion. This doesn't work so well with like bed pillows, but you can actually lie face down over a bolster. You can use a blanket under your ankles or a blanket under your forehead. So you choose either on your back doing a spinal twist with a bolster or a block or blanket between the knees, face down doing a twist over a bolster or a cushion with a block or blanket between the knees, or just opting out of the twist altogether and going face down over a bolster. Okay, so those are your options. We'll do 5 minutes on each side if you're twisting. If you're face down, you'll just be face down for 10 minutes. Remember that you can adjust anytime that you need to. So if it doesn't feel great, keep experimenting and playing with it until it does feel great. As you feel your body settling in and relaxing into whatever version of a twist you're doing, now I'd like you to take your attention away from people, and we're going to focus on places. I'd like you to think of your absolute favorite place in the world. It could be your own backyard. It could be a tropical island. It can be the mountains. It can be anywhere. But I want you to think about your favorite place. And I want you to think about what it is that makes it so special for you. It's a very short leap from what makes it so special to you to the gratitude that you feel for this place. So you'll notice with all of our gratitude practice, whether it's occurrences and events or people or places, looking for things to be grateful for teaches us to see beauty
And learning to see beauty teaches us gratitude. So it's this beautiful self-feeding cycle that just brings us more and more joy. We see more beauty, we have more gratitude, we have more gratitude, we see more beauty, etc., etc. We're going to go ahead and switch sides. If you are in a twist, you're simply going to do the other side. If you are in a face down over the bolsters pose, if you can, you'll just stay there. Always remember to self-adjust. Always remember it should be pleasant. So on the first side of the twist, I asked you to think of your favorite place in the world. Now I want you to think of your favorite room in your home. Maybe you're in it right now. Maybe you're not. Think of your favorite room in your home. Think of why it's your favorite room. What is it that you love and appreciate about it? What is it that you feel emotionally when you're in that room? Maybe you feel joyful, maybe you feel safe, maybe you feel peaceful. And then make that short leap to gratitude.
And then slowly, slowly, slowly.
You can come out of, if you're in a twist, you can come out of your twist. If you're face down, press yourself up. So our next pose, everybody gets to do the same way. There's actually two versions, but it's the same pose and it's appropriate for everyone and it's delicious for everyone. So this is Viparita di Karani, which is legs up the wall. Now I am lucky enough to have a wall that I can just put my legs up and that's what I intend to do. However, what if you don't have a wall? If you have a bolster or a block, you can use it to tilt the pelvis just right so that it's like a fulcrum and the legs just float up. Now I'm going to show you with a bolster because we're going to be here for I think like 3 or 4 minutes. So if you do have a bolster, you might want to use that instead of a block. But you lift your hips, slide it up underneath and let the legs float up. Now right now my legs want to go forward, so I'm having to use effort. So I scooch myself back a little bit. My pelvis tilts. And now my legs are just floating up. I'm not using any effort at all. My legs are just hanging out in the air and it's blissful. So if you need to, use a block or a bolster underneath your hips. However, if you actually have a wall, go ahead and get yourself to it and get your legs up the wall. You want your backside as close to the wall as possible. And you simply allow the legs to rest. One of the reasons that this is so restorative is that it actually gives your heart muscle an ever so slight break because of the reverse in blood flow. So if this is comfortable to you, either with the wall or with a block or bolster, I'd love for you to come in the legs up the wall. And if it feels okay to you while you're here, have your left hand at your heart and your right hand at your abdomen, but in a way that your arms can relax, of course. It's a very nurturing hand position. And it reminds us that all of the things that we find so special and that we have so much gratitude for exist within us. It's how we see things and not the things themselves. So working our way backward, I had you think about your favorite room in the house. The things that you feel about that room are yours. They're your feelings and they're inside of you. And you can feel them even when you're not in that room. The same is true for your favorite place in the world. The same is true even if you're not in the presence of that dear person that I asked you to think of. You were still able to feel the love. You were able to feel the gratitude. All of these things are present in you. The gratitude, the appreciation, that's all you. That all exists in you. And it's available to you every minute, every day. And that in and of itself is something to be grateful for. If I want to feel gratitude and joy, all I have to do is change the way I see things. All I have to do is change the way I think. What an amazing gift. From this legs up the wall pose,
you are going to be transitioning into Shavasana. And even though it might seem to you like all we've done is a bunch of lying around, you actually need Shavasana for your body to absorb and assimilate everything that you've done. I highly recommend that you do it as a supported Shavasana. So you can either have a bolster behind your knees, or you could put your legs up and over a couch or a stool again, kind of like we did for that Stonehenge. You can put a couple of bolsters together horizontally and let the legs drape over them, imagining that the heels are heavy, so sometimes called heavy heels pose. Or if you're very comfortable just lying flat on your back, by all means, do that. But we're going to take just a few minutes in a nice, sweet, silent Shavasana to allow all of this to absorb. So I want you to get comfortable. If you need a blanket, whatever you need, lie on your back. Let your arms be lower than your heart, preferably with your palms facing up, so that you can continue to receive all of the myriad blessings showered upon you continually. Let your jaw relax, let your eyes close, and simply soak in all of the beautiful nourishment that your body has received from your practice. All of the beautiful love and gratitude that you've generated in your heart. Just let everything soak in and become part of you. Start to move your fingers and toes a little bit. Take a slow, deep breath in and simply stretch however it feels good, and exhale and relax. Bend your knees. You might want to hug them in. And then just gently roll to one side. Press yourself up. And just come to a comfortable seated position like we did in the beginning of class. So we started just kind of checking in with ourselves and doing a brief gratitude list, brief gratitude meditation. I'd like you to end by taking a moment to check in with yourself. Notice how you feel physically. Notice how you feel mentally, emotionally, and energetically. And then if it feels appropriate to you, I'd like you to do the mudra of offering. We bring the pinkies together with the palms up.
This is a gesture that we use when we offer. This is true in all cultures. It's also the gesture that we use when we're receiving a gift. And it shows that energy flows. We give and receive with the same gesture. Like, hold these hands, palms up in front of your heart. Let any gratitude, any joy that you feel, let that spill out of your heart and over into your hands and out to the rest of the world. The fact that you can see beauty, that you can feel gratitude, that you can feel joy makes you incredibly valuable to the world. Share that. Allow it to flow out of you every moment, every day, so that others can also see beauty, feel gratitude, and feel joy. Bring your palms together in front of your heart. I hope that this evening has been restorative and joy-filled for you. I hope you know how incredibly grateful I am for each of you, for this community, for this ability to share this practice with you, literally share it with you, to do this practice with you. It's one of my greatest joys. So please know that I am immensely grateful for you. I so thank you for joining me this evening. Take one more deep breath in. Exhale with a sigh. We bring our palms to our foreheads, and this reminds us to stay present so that we can see beauty. We bring our palms to our mouths to remind us to speak our truth and to also say thank you. And we bring our palms together in front of our hearts to remind us to keep our hearts open, to allow the gratitude to flow, the love to flow, the compassion to flow, and to let it flow both ways. Thank you again so much. Namaste.